Hey, welcome to Pat's Soundbytes IGTV. Keeping new music alive is what I do on the radio and now on video. Conducting live chats with the artists and learning the stories behind their latest release and also playing their new video. Special thanks to my good friend Jody Best of Best Bet Promotions for coordinating and scheduling today's artists. Having over 20 plus years in the music industry, if you're looking for a highly successful promotion and marketing professional who's extremely motivated, look no further than Jody Best. For more information, contact Jody via email at bestbetpromo@yahoo.com. Special thanks today to my sponsor Go-Go Tuners. For all guitar players looking for a focus on ease of use, readability, durability, and accuracy, look no further. The Go-Go Tuner is the choice of many touring professionals and a favorite of casual players. Go-Go's signature green you're in and red you're out screen makes tuning quick and easy. For more information, go to the website at gogotuners.com. Special thanks to WBXO Classic Rock Radio Redefined, allowing me to keep new music alive on the radio airways on the Pat Show every Sunday from 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Only on WBXO Classic Rock Redefined. And a big thank you to Mr. Evan Balzer for allowing me to use his amazing instrumental that you're hearing right now. It's called Trails. To find out more incredible music by Evan, go to his website at evanbalzer.com. And today's special guest, well, he's a singer-songwriter and an incredible guitarist, blues rocker Austin Moe. Austin's got a track out and video called The River. We're going to play The River. We're going to talk to Austin how he found the love of music and working under the incredible Frank Hannon of Tesla. We're going to talk all about that and so much more right here on Pat Soundbytes IGTV. Hey, live on Pat Soundbytes IGTV, another great one today. An incredible rising blues rocker. Man, do I love this. Keeping new music alive on the radio and on video. I got a cool cat here, a singer, a songwriter, and man, can this guy play guitar. Welcome to the Pat Soundbytes channel, Mr. Austin Moe from California. What's going on, Austin?
Hey, thanks for having me, Pat. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on the show.
Oh, man, dude, I got to say, The River, go check it out. Check out the song, check out the video. It just dropped last week. I got a track of it, and I go, oh, yeah, I like this guy. And I like the video. We're going to throw it on our rotation here on WBXO. Man, oh, man, Austin, 23 years old, Guitar Heroes. My son's 31, but he had the Guitar Hero thing. And I'm a wannabe musician. And the only song I could really play somewhat good was Jane's Addiction, the mountain song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? I was like, I really tried so hard, but I don't know. But nice to meet you, Austin. Congratulations. Good for you. Hard work pays. Dreams come true. I guess your middle name's got to be Practice, Practice, Practice.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Nothing just happens overnight. That's what I tell anybody. Dreams come true, as I just said to you, to hang out with Billy Gibbons, which I never would have ever expected. Oh, my goodness. So it's all good, man. So let's start from the beginning, Austin. Where did you find the love for music? Who inspired you? Where was it all about the Guitar Hero game that you said? Was it a concert that you went to, or mom, dad, or somebody play guitar?
Well, I have musicians throughout my family tree, so it's kind of built into my DNA. But my very first memory of music is my dad owns a 1974 Pro Street Camaro. And for those of you that don't know what that means, it's basically, hell on wheels.
Oh, I love it.
And he would, every year for our birthday, he would drive, me, my brother, and or my sister to school in it, and he would put in, whatever song he wanted to. And my very earliest memory of music is listening to Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh,
Do You Feel Like We Do? And specifically the talk box part. Every time that would come on when I was a kid, I would always ask him, hey, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's called a talk box. And I'm like, well, what does that do? And he's like, well, I don't know exactly, but it's something to do with your mouth and you can move it while you're playing the guitar and it creates that sound. And then, the CD would start over again. And then I'd be like, oh, well, what's that? And he goes, oh, well, that's a wah pedal. And I'm like, well, what does that do? And he's like, well, it creates that wah effect.
wah, yeah.
Yeah. And so music has always intrigued me way before Guitar Hero. After I got through the phase being a little kid in kindergarten, first, second grade, I want to be a firefighter or a cop or whatever.
Hey, I'm a past fire chief. You see my little thing right over there?
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you for your service.
Thank you. No, it's all
but after I got through, the normal, this is what I want to do. Once I started really retaining and listening to the music, I was like, oh, this is it. I got to be a rock star. That's my mission statement. And so then Guitar Hero came along. I got way too good at that. It got to the point where I would play the notes without looking at the TV and sometimes doing chores, and I wouldn't even miss any. And so I was basically learning the song, but with the 5 buttons.
Right.
And so my dad noticed this, and he talked to me one day while I was playing, and he's like, hey, so do you want to learn like guitar? Because you're learning the songs, but just the notes. I was like, well, I don't really know what I would get, and I think I just had my birthday. So I was like, we don't really have the money for that. And he was like, well, I might be able to borrow somebody's. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And so he called up his buddy, and his buddy is actually the owner of that Flying V in the video, The River. And it's a mutt guitar. It's got a 69 year stamped headstock with 75 hardware.
Wow.
And yeah, that was the very first guitar that I ever picked up. It's got jumbo frets, and it just sounds incredible. And usually with a Flying V sitting down anyways, people are uncomfortable and it slides around and stuff. But for me, it was just like a match made in heaven.
I never forget I went to see the band Triumph.
Oh.
Rick Emmett, and I got to meet Rick. I actually met Rick over here at Daryl's house, and I was 1982, and it was the first time I've ever seen anybody play a Flying V. And he came on stage with that thing, and like, wow, what is that? And yeah, that's pretty cool. Is it hard, Austin? Was it the transition from the actual Guitar Hero 5 notes to a real guitar?
For me, it really wasn't, because I had gotten to the point where I attribute, playing it so much and memorizing that stuff to, like hand-eye coordination, because I'm a very visual learner. And so, while I'm playing the game, I'm unconsciously learning the song. And so the very first song that I learned on the Flying V, the real guitar, was AC/DC's TNT.
Oh,
and
nice.
I just, looked it up on YouTube and typed it in, and some dude with a goatee was teaching it, and I was like, I could do this. And then it was just riff after riff after riff, and
Man.
I haven't put the guitar down since.
What an age we are at today. I would go home, at high school, my buddy, we'd go to his house every day after school, and he got his first guitar, and the first song he learned was AC/DC's Highway to Hell. And if I didn't hear, I mean, 100 million times. And then he went to, what was it, Highway to Hell, and then he was really killing himself with Freebird. Just,
geez.
he was like, I go, how do you go from that to that? Then he went down, then he went to like, Smoke on the Water, which everybody, I guess, learned. Dan, dan,
Oh yeah,
dan, you know,
035.
those three. So, yeah, I mean, when you said AC/DC, I got to see AC/DC open up for Kiss
Really?
in 1978 or 9.
What a dynamic that must have been.
Well, it was like, no, everybody's dying to see Kiss. The explosions, it was like crazy. But when it was with Bon Scott, and it was like, what is that? I mean, here's Angus going crazy, and it was like, no, I didn't know who they were, but you didn't forget when they get off stage, like, who is that already? And then Kiss just took it to another level. But yeah, I got to see AC/DC open up for somebody. I'm like,
wow,
crazy. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, the Flying V and guitars, man, good for you. Austin is working with my man Frank. I gotta show my love for Frank Hannon here. I love Frank from Tesla, and he's doing a great job with other bands of guys, Red Voodoo and JT Lutz. And I'm sure when he got a hold of Austin, or you're going to tell me that story, how you hooked up, he said, oh, yeah, this guy's got it. He's really, when I had the Red Voodoo guys on with Frank, he just so fascinated with, the young generation like yourself on how dedicated and how really bad at you're really putting in the effort. And he just loves that type of stuff. So I'm sure he's giving you a homework assignment. You're not working on the farm, right? You're not shuffling the horse shit like the Red Voodoo guys are.
No, I've put in a little time here and there.
And painting.
No, actually, we long story short, there was a fire near his place, and it kind of went a little bit onto his fence that borders the road down there. And so when I heard about that, I texted him, asked him if he needed any help, and he was like, "Oh yeah, just come on up." And so I went up there, and he had me paint his fence. But I'm not complaining, dude. I mean, I learned a lot that day just by hanging out with him.
Oh my God.
Doing chores.
Well, that's what I said to those guys. I'm like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. So you're mentored by Frank. What was the attraction to Frank? How did you reach out to Frank? How did you connect? Tell me the story. I'm dying to hear.
So it goes back to my 21st birthday. My family friend got me tickets to see Tesla, which was the weekend after.
Nice.
And my family friend has watched Tesla since they were city kid in like the pubs. Like they would rent out their own little venues of like 100, 200, kids, and they would just party. At least that's what he said. And so I reached out to Frank. I private messaged him on Facebook, and I said, hey, it's my 21st birthday, blah, 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 blah. My friend's a really big fan of your guys'. And could we please just come backstage, say hi, we'll be out of your hair. And I didn't hear anything. And so I was like, well, if he doesn't get back to me, because it is Sacramento, and I can only imagine how many people are trying to get
everybody knows him, right?
For free. And so I just wanted to say hi and bye and real quick. And then the next day he's like, oh yeah, dude, just send me your name and I'll get you whatever the amount of backstage passes you need. And I'm like, okay. So I sent him all the information. And the first time we went back there, my friend and I, it must have been like right after the meet and greet, because there was like nobody there except for the curtain and like a half-eaten little ordained stuff for the people who paid for it. And so we're like, oh, well, if we don't meet Frank, we don't meet Frank. And so we sat back down in our seats, and the opener's playing, and I get a text from my phone, and I'm like, who would be texting me while I'm at a concert? So I pull it out, and it's Frank. He goes, hey, man, are you at the show? I was like, oh, yeah, da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, do you want to come and hang out? I'm like, yeah. And so we walked back there, hung out in his trailer, and talked music for probably 20 minutes before they went on. And then we kept in touch, and he's come out to a few of my shows after initially meeting him. And then I opened up for him at the Boardwalk in Orangevale, California. And ever since that gig, we've been working together on originals and stuff and having a blast.
That is a great story. It sounded like the Red Voodoo, I guess, when Dino hit him up, and Dino just said, well, write a song and send it to me.
Yeah.
And then he wrote Rise Up and said, okay, I want to see you really interested. Write something. Let me see what you got. And now, obviously, those guys are doing quite well, and I'm looking forward to hearing what else they got lined up with Frank. But that's cool, man. You mentioned, YouTube. I couldn't even imagine today. Now you could just watch anybody, right? Just go to YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And go. I
Dead
couldn't
or
even
alive.
imagine. Yeah, could you imagine what those guys, if we had YouTube back in the 70s, or
it would be a totally different era.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. So from a music standpoint, if you can, share some of the important lessons learned and heads up advice that Frank has been able to provide to you that will help you down the line as a musician.
Hanging out with Frank, he's really taught me how to craft a song just from an idea. Because when we wrote The River, I didn't even really have a song like structure. I came over to his house with my phone and a bunch of ideas, little licks here and there, and a notebook with lyrics. And so we listened to them all, and he's like, okay, I like this, I like that, and the other. And then while I was just sitting there, I wasn't even thinking. I just played the intro riff, which is now The River. And he's like, oh, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. I just came up with it. He's like, well, let's work on that. Let's build off of that. What are your lyrics? I'm like, I got this thing about a river. He's like, well, what's that going to be about? I'm like, I don't know yet, but this is what I have. And so initially, what's the chorus now was the first verse of The River when we were jamming on it. And he's like, well, how about if we flip it and then let's try these chords? And then he was like, I'm going down to the river. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome. And so then we just started building from that, and we hung out a couple days in a row, and then went into the studio, cut it, and shot the video, and now we're here.
He's amazing. Yeah, I see and your voice, man, you got some great vocals.
Thank you.
Have you taken, Frank help you with that, or you got a vocal coach or giving you some advice on, how to project and enunciate, how to breathe, I guess, properly and sing properly?
Well, when I was starting to sing, I was playing in blues jams, and there was this club called the Valencia Club up in Penryn, California. And the house band's bass player was married to Ike Turner's first daughter, which is before Ike and Tina. So his first marriage, and her name was Twana Turner. And the very first time I decided to sing, it wasn't like I knew she was going to be there. I just, on the way up with my mom, I was like, hey, I'm going to try and sing a song. She was like, what song? I was like, Stevie Ray Vaughan's Guy's Crying. And she was like,
oh, wow.
She was like, you've never sang a song before. I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm not a singer. And so Twana saw me sing and play, and she pulled me aside, and she was like, wow, you play really well, and your singing is great. I'd like to mentor you and, work with you. Can you learn Old Love by Eric Clapton by next week? And do you want to jam it with me? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Of course.
I'm on it.
And so I learned that with my buddy who was also there at the jam, and we played it. And since that initial little meeting, I guess you could call it, she took me under her wing, showed me how to push from my diaphragm because I was getting it all in my throat. And even the most simple of range would just kill me after a jam singing 3 or 4 songs. And so she showed me the proper, breathing techniques and all of that. And so that was, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago, I'd say. And since then, it's been a little bit of trial and error. and also applying her techniques and trying to fit it to my own voicing. And, of course, YouTube.
I got to meet the wonderful Paul Rogers, Mark
Oh,
Slaughter, Glenn Hughes.
that is
And,
so
and
awesome.
I always ask, I mean, Paul Rogers, oh my God, Velvet.
Paul is as far as vocalists go, that is my freaking idol, dude.
I said,
He
Paul,
just
he said,
sounds so amazing.
I had to interview him. I was promoting a show for him in New York, and I interviewed him. He was in Cincinnati. I had to call his hotel room in Cincinnati. It was my birthday. He's saying happy birthday to me. Like, but to
That's
meet
so
him,
cool.
and I said, Paul, your instrument is your vocals, and for 50 years you sound so incredible. How do you do it? What do you do besides warm-ups and tea and honey? And he said, sleep, 7 hours of sleep, and plenty of hydration. He's not a drinker. He's not a smoker.
Wow.
And his wife is a phenomenal fitness guru. So he eats healthy, he does everything healthy, and they're super people. They're great people. His wife Cynthia, who I got to meet, and Paul rolled the dice backstage. He had an album
That's
out.
so cool.
He had an album that was live. It was from his days in Free, the first band he was ever in. It's a 16-track album, and he goes, "Of course I'm going to roll the dice. You're going to play all 16." But he didn't get it. But
oh man,
what a cool cat, boy! Have you ever?
I can only imagine. One thing on my bucket list is to sit down with him and have just a coffee or something. Just talk to him. It seems so cool.
Dude, it could happen. You just keep working at it and you make the connection. All I did was make the connection, and some people say yeah, and some people say no, and it is what it is. But I've been living my dream. Trust me. At my age, in the last 5 years, of everybody that I've met from the 70s to current, I'm living my dream. So I encourage you not to stop. You might hit a couple of doors here and there, kick the doors down and just say, yep, no problem. See ya, and keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
What advice would you give someone trying to get into the music business today, Austin?
Well, the advice that I would give is, number one, practice, and not just practice for the sake of practicing, but practice with the intent of reaching your goal, whatever it is. For me, it was just, at the time, learning the songs Highway to Hell or Freebird or whatever like that. But learn what you want to learn, because that's how I did it. And I'm not saying there's a wrong way or a right way, but just for me, because I'm a very independent kind of person, I would sit there and with one song on repeat, just play, 5-6 hours a day. And eventually it started all to make sense. So either, for beginners out there, I would say learn what you like, and there's no wrong way to do it. Either learn how to read music, tabs, whatever, or some people need guitar teachers, which is totally okay. But I would say follow your heart and you'll be happy.
I totally 120% agree with you. I went for piano lessons. I said, I gotta just learn something, and I took a class on piano, and I got myself a Casio organ, a little bit different, but excuse me. And I was in a class with 20 people, and a woman was steamrolling ahead, and I was kind of lost in the shuffle. And then I went on YouTube like you, and I found people to say, pick the song you really love and want to learn.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that, don't just, pick something. Pick, I don't know, Billy Joel, Elton John, something that you really want to learn, and you just do it every day. Just do it every day. And eventually, and then you're going to feel that you accomplished it, because it's a song that you want to show your family. Like I can play, Tiny Dancer, or, the Italian Restaurant or whatever. And that's really good advice. I'm happy that you mentioned that. So talk to me about the track, the river. We'll go back to the river. I see the guy, the video, he's kind of getting baptized, and when you and Frank were sitting around, is it the lyric first or is it the riff first? How does your creativity with songwriting? How's that process work out for you?
Well, working with Frank on this track, it was kind of going like both of them hand in hand. What ended up happening was going back to when I said, he was just strumming those random chords and looking at the sheet. We built off of that. So and he showed me a common structure of a song, like, there's an intro, there's a verse, and then the verse is either so many bars, and then a chorus, and then a bridge if you want, maybe a solo, back to a verse, and all that stuff. And so we kind of just formatted the music into that kind of shape, and then we were listening and just humming, and we would walk around, go out, feed the horses, and we get an idea, come back to our little jam spot, write down a bunch of lyrics, and then just kind of mull over it the whole day. We really busted that song out in one, probably 5 hour session, 5 or 6 hour session.
The first couple of times I've listened to it, and I got a buddy of mine. He lives in Muscle Shoals, and he is a big blues rock. He does every genre, and he has a song called Heroes. And I kind of labeled it as swamp rock. And the minute you played that riff for your song, The River, I go, I'm telling you, there's this genre out there that's starting to get going. And I've been calling it swamp rock ever since. And I think your song, you go to a band called In Theory. I'll send you the track. Well, I'll get your email after we're done, and I'll send you the track, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's got that swampy, Cajun, Southern, just
it's
like
deep fried and gravy kind of feel.
Yeah. Well, it's not really Southern roots, but it's exactly what you touched upon, and you'll really appreciate it. So, what's the game plan? Is there an EP, an album? What are you guys working on? You got 2 or 3 or 4. I saw your video, "Rock Is My Religion," which was a pretty cool track.
Oh, thank you.
What's the overall goal here?
Well, right now we're kind of looking through the little catalog of ideas, and since that session that we've done, and we've met up multiple times since recording The River and fleshing out more songs, and the ideas that I've been presenting him are more of a closer to a finished product. So right now we're just looking through the little demos that I have. I wouldn't rule out an album per se, but probably, in between either a 5-song EP or maybe 8-song album if, we feel like it.
No, go for it. Do not stop. Do you think, I keep seeing the word, and I'm listening to you, watching you play, and I know some of your influences, Stevie Ray, Joe Bonamassa, Jimi Hendrix, Billy Gibbons.
Oh,
you got a lot of blues in your blood there somewhere. Is your album, you think, more kind of blues, Johnny Winter related, Stevie Ray, compared to a Jimmy Page? That type of, or a little bit of both?
I think it might just be a happy little
Austin Moe
baby. Yeah, an Austin Moe. But just like a little mold of a little bit of Joe here, a little bit of Jimmy Page here, a little bit of Stevie and Johnny Winter and BB and all of that stuff. I'm not ruling out, like, if there's a really good track that comes out and it's of me, I mean, and it's like in your face, kind of heavy and, rock and roll, I'm not going to put that with everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just at the moment, I'm still discovering my songwriting and where, I kind of fit, I guess is the right word, so we'll see. But I'd think it would be probably a happy product of blues and rock.
Good. Is there anybody that you're listening to now that you're, whether it's a new band or, old band? Who do you like go to you when you want to get turned on or you want to hear something or?
Well, honestly, when it comes to songwriting, it depends on, like, for example, there's an idea that I've been kind of toying around with, and it doesn't sound like Layla by Eric and the Dominoes, or Derek and the Dominoes, I mean, but in my mind, that's the kind of feel that I want. And so last week or 2 weeks ago, I was listening to that track for probably like, oh man, 2 or 3 hours trying to dissect how the transitions made the song feel, and like going from that really big chorus down into the piano, and then it kind of builds up and all that. And I have a keyboard and stuff at home and for demos and whatnot. And so I would try and like recreate that, but in my own style. So it really just depends on the kind of mood I'm going for a song. But like on a day-to-day basis, I have a Spotify playlist that ranges from like Kid Rock to Pink Floyd to this band called the Steep Water Band, which I believe they're signed with like Lava Records and stuff, and that from Zeppelin to Greta Van Fleet. So it's all over the place. And then a little bit of Johnny Cash and Bo Cephas in there too.
I like that. Oh my goodness. You just said something before that was good. And I like songs that almost end and then they pick up. It's like you think it's over with, and then all of a sudden it starts gravitating back up like a train going. Like I mean, Layla, like you said, that transition from the great guitar and all of a sudden to the piano, and like who I've been watching a lot lately, and I can't believe I missed him in concert, was ELO.
Really?
Jeff Lynne. Who comes up with violins and cellos and I mean, you would never expect. I mean, I don't know if anybody still comes up even close to the material that guy has written. It's like, wow, insane.
I don't know. Some people just like, they just hear it and then they can do it, And for the most part, I can do that on guitar, but like with like piano and bass and stuff, it's a learning curve. But I'm trying to have the most fun that I can,
keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it. I got to have dinner with Joe Walsh before a show.
Really?
And I said to him, where did you come up with all this? How does songwriting work for you? And you know how he talks. He's like, well, he goes, I said, Rocky Mountain High. And he says, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I went to my buddy's house in the Colorado Rockies. I'm cutting the grass and I'm thinking about this decision that I make. Did I make the right decision? And I'm pushing this mower and I keep looking at these mountains. And finally, I just let the mower go and I ran in the house because the idea started to really come. I go, did the mower still cut the guy's grass? He goes, I don't even remember. But he goes, I wanted to make sure that the Rocky Mountain High, is it better than it was before? Is this the right decision? And he says, it came to me like, boom. And I just had to run.
Sometimes that happens. I woke up one night, 3 a.m., and I busted out a song in an hour and went back to bed and totally didn't even remember I did it.
Nice.
But I woke up and I was like, my guitar is out. I have my phone. What's on my phone? Then I listened to it. I'm like, well, I guess if this is what I'm thinking about, go with it.
Do you have an all-time favorite guitarist that you follow that you go, oh man, if I had an opportunity to hang with him, dead or alive?
David Gilmour.
David Gilmour. Oh my goodness.
Stevie is my love, but to listen to, but David Gilmour just, oh man, one note of his, dude, it could outplay any super shredder of the day.
I agree. Have you ever seen Eric Gales?
I actually opened for Eric Gales 2 years ago at the Empress
Theater in
Vallejo.
Watching him play.
Oh yeah.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, Eric and his family, they're all super cool. And I actually got him to sign my guitar, which I don't play ever because I have Joe Bonamassa's signature and then I have Eric Gale's. And so I don't want to rub it off. It's the only guitar that I've bought myself, and it's a 70s reissue Squire Strat. And the minute I got Joe to sign it, I was like, that's it. Can't play it.
How did you meet
Not
Joe?
playing it anymore.
How did you meet Joe?
Oh, so that story begins with when I was in my junior year of high school. My mom was looking for a way to get me out of the area pretty much. She was just looking up just random things like guitar competitions or like guitar sponsorships. And she came across this thing called the Brotherhood of the Guitar. And what essentially that is it is a rock and roll Hall of Fame style environment, but for kids under the age of 18. And it's put on by Steve Vai, Robert M. Knight, and Robert is just the biggest rock photographer ever, and a handful of other people in the industry. And so my mom reached out to Robert and said, hey, you know, this is my son. We're interested in, you know, we want to fly here to this thing. And do you guys do sponsorships? And he goes, well, we don't do that kind of thing, unfortunately. However, we are working with Fender and these corporations. And if I like your son, we could get him signed and into our little deal that we have with them. And so about 6 months go by and I'm in school. I just got kicked out of class because I was listening to AC/DC. And I get this text from Robert Knight and he goes, hey, are you doing anything today? And I said, no.
I got kicked out of class.
No, I'm not. Why? And he goes, well, I'm hanging out with Neil Sean up in San Francisco. And I'll be here until tomorrow, you know, at like 5. Can you meet me in between now and then? And I was like, yes, I will. And so we went up to the hotel that Robert Knight was staying at. He had just taken a picture session with Neil of Harleys and guitars and whatever else they wanted to. And so he inducted me into that little circle, the Brotherhood of the Guitar. And I actually just got reinducted because now they work with Ernie Ball. Oh. And so fast forward to like a year later, and Joe Bonamassa is playing the Sacramento area. And so just to see what would happen, I messaged Robert and I very politely, you know, told him I would love to meet him just to say hi and bye, and that's it. And he said, yeah, I can make that. I can try and make that happen. And so we got to the venue and we're waiting in line to meet Joe Bonamassa. And I have that flying V in the video. And he literally, as I'm walking up to him, he goes, hey, let me see that guitar, kid. He just like that. He's like, let me see it. Where did you get this guitar? And I said, well, it's my dad's friend's. He goes, what year is it? I said, well, the headstock says 69. He's like, yep. What's the case? And I said, I don't know. He goes, purple fuzz in it, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, go get it. And so I walked out of line and I grabbed the case and I brought it to him. And he's like, wow, this is really cool. How did you even? And I'm like, it's just his friends. And he goes, well, it's this guitar this year, the 58 Carina, and like a late, like mid 70s flying V that you want. And you got like the best one of them.
Nice.
And I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, don't drop it.
Should I be playing it or put it away?
I was like, I was half tempted to ask him to play it at that night, but you know how it is playing a foreign guitar or even a foreign instrument. It takes a minute to get used to it. And while I was talking with him, I was like, hey, so could you sign the pick guard? And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, you know, just sign the guitar. We're cool with the owner. He's like, no, I will devalue that guitar by $10,000. No, not happening.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, no, come on, Joe. People like it. He's like, no, but I noticed you have that other guitar. And that's the Squire Strat I brought as well to that. And he goes, I'll sign that, no problem. But this guitar, don't let anybody sign it under any circumstances.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So
what a cool day that was.
yeah, dude, I was on cloud freaking 9.
Absolutely. Well, Austin, I've taken a lot of your time, man. It's been a great chat, and I can't wait to see your EP, your album. My love for Frank Hannon, of course. You got to, once this whole COVID thing goes away, we want your butt here in New York so we can roll the dice and
yeah, dude,
have some
play the
fun.
garden together or something.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Where can everybody go purchase The Rivers and on all the streaming digital platforms, Austin?
Yes, sir. It's on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Amazon Music. You can even talk to your Alexa and say, Alexa, play The River by Austin Moe, and
nice.
Come right up. Which I did that at home, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I did that with my podcast, and I'm like, Alexa, which episode would you like the latest? And I'm going, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And I know you got all the socials, right? AustinMoe.com. Austin Moe official, I think on Instagram. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And you can type any of that in, Austin Moe official on Facebook or Instagram and on YouTube. The easiest way to find us is typing in The River and then Austin Moe, and then we'll be the first one.
Well, speaking of The River, it's time to rock a little Austin Moe and play The River video right here on Pat Soundbytes IGTV.
myself not alone. I found the answer I was looking for. So now it's time to head back on home, 'cause I'm going